guys, welcome back to another video on the Walking Dead Telltale series, part 2 of What If Shawn Survived. And I haven't really uploaded like a second part to this, mainly because I've been kind of busy. But we are going to be continuing the series, and so let's just get back, I forgot how to do this. So let's just continue where we started from, where we left off from last time. So Andy and Danny St. John both arrive at the motel and would ask the group if they would trade in some like gasoline for fuel. And this encounter goes the same way with eventually a few people from the group. Like in this universe, it'd be a little different. I feel like the group going to the St. John's farm the bunch would be a little bigger this time. It would be Lee, Shawn, Ben, Carly, Mark, and Andre. They'd all be headed to the St. John's dairy with the St. John's brothers, Andy and Danny. And when the group arrived, they'd meet Brenda like they did in the original. Everything would play out the same, where when they're coming to the St. John's dairy where that one guy dies and stuff. Everything there would just remain the same. And Mark would still get shot, and all of that would play out the same, basically. And eventually the whole group arrives at the dairy. And in this universe, Kenny and also Lee would still find out about the back room at the St. John's dairy. And in this universe, they'd end up thinking about telling some other people that they think are trustable. And the people they'd tell are Shawn and also Andre, because they're capable members of the group and stuff, and trustable and accountable. And Andy would still walk in on them, and the same thing would play out. He's don't mess around in there. And eventually all four of them would ask, why do you guys have that? And they'd be we hunt some animals and stuff to keep us alive. And the four of them, they wouldn't believe him, but they just keep it to themselves. After Andy says, come on down for dinner, the four of them say, we'll be down in a sec. And Andy leaves after that, and the four of them start discussing. And Kenny says Lee should take a look around the house when it's dinner time, and be look around for anything suspicious that they may be hiding. So they'd agree to that, and the four of them would head off to dinner with the rest of the group. And after everyone arrives at dinner, Lee would still make the excuse that he's gonna go clean himself up real quick. But in reality, it's the original, where he just sneaks around looking for anything possibly bad about the St. John's. And eventually, he'd stumble upstairs and find the room where Mark is legless up there. Mark would tell Lee not to eat the meat, and Lee would rush downstairs and try to alert everyone hey, don't eat the meat. And by the time he arrives, everyone's eating, but Lee manages to stop Clementine, depending if the player is fast enough or not. And Lee would tell everyone, don't eat the meat, it's people. And then he'd tell everyone Mark is upstairs legless. Shawn tells Lee to calm down, as it's probably just his imagination, as he doesn't believe it could be anything up there. Lee tells the others to go have a look for themselves. Kenny tells Lee to calm down, and he tells him he's scaring the kids. The rest of the scene would play out the same, as Katja would still get taken by the St. John's, and everybody else at the dinner would be taken to the meat locker. And in the meat locker, Larry would still have his heart attack. And as the player, you would still have the option to side with Kenny and choose to kill Larry or help Lily save Larry. But regardless, Kenny would end up killing Larry. And with Shawn's part in this, Shawn would help Lily no matter what the player's choice is, as Shawn would always seem like the more helpful guy in his short amount of screen time he had. And after the group escaped the meat locker, they would still end up meeting Danny right outside of the barn. And Lee would have the gun pointed straight at him, and depending on the player's choices, Shawn would help Lee no matter what to kill Danny, and if you helped Kenny kill Larry, then Kenny would also help. But if you didn't help Kenny kill Larry, and Kenny would not help you, it would just be Shawn. And And as the player, you would still have the choice to kill Danny or spare him, which doesn't really matter because you don't know what happens to him anyways afterwards. And Brenda would end up getting her original death, nothing changing there, by getting killed by Mark's Walker. And when Lee comes outside, he'd be seeing Duck being held at gunpoint by Andy. But in this universe, there'd be nothing Andy can do, as before he could do anything to Duck, he's shot in the shoulder by Andre. And as Andre has done this, he would slowly lower his gun as Shawn stands behind him. As after that, the whole group would just start beating on Andy, giving him no chance. And eventually, as Lee, you would have to make the choice to either kill Andy or spare him, which doesn't really matter because you never get to know what happens to him. But it's presumed he just dies after anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's the headcanon for most people. And our group at the end of the episode would look like this: Lee, Chet, Kenny, Duck, Katya, Travis, Ben, Andre, Lily, Carly, Doug, and Clementine. But anyways, guys, that'll be it for today, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed. And before I end the video, I just want to say I'm sorry for not uploading as much because I've been kind of busy. But now we will be getting back to uploading as much as we used to. So, okay, everybody. Bye-bye.